Hey YouTube, I'm back. I am sorry for the big gap between my most recent video and this one. The thing is, I planned on making this video about 2 months ago, and I made it, and I wasn't satisfied with how I did it. I felt I could have done it much better. So I erased all the footage from that, and just over the past 2 months I have not had the time alone to make a video, because there's usually people here, and I just haven't been able to make a video when they're out of the house. So for this video, I am doing just a collection video of all the Gundam games I've acquired over the years. And since the original video I made, that I ended up deleting all the footage of, I've actually acquired 2 more games for the collection. So without further ado, let's start off with the first one. Gundam Memories. Of course, this does have a longer name, but I just can't remember it because it's all Japanese, and I can't read kanji. This one is kind of bland, actually. It's very just hit triangle or square, whatever the attack button is, and you just zoom in and start attacking the opponents. It's all either space or in the air combat. There's no on foot gameplay, and I think that's really where this game falls short. Impressive roster, though. You do play through a lot of story missions from Gundam Unicorn. This was also released in 2011, so it's only like the first 3 episodes of Unicorn. Seed Destiny, 00 movie, 00 Season 2, Gundam X, Gundam Wing Endless Waltz, and F90, oddly enough. F90, not F91, just F90. Yet no G Gundam or Turn A. Next is actually the series of games that got me into Gundam in the first place, oddly enough. And I don't have the actual game, the game that got me into it, because I traded it in for this one when it came out. Dynasty Warriors Gundam 3. The second Dynasty Warriors game I picked up, it was the day after Christmas, 2010. They had GameStop had a buy 2 get 3rd free on all used games. And I remember Gundam from a childhood friend of mine, who I'm still good friends with today, but he was into it when he was a kid, and he was still kind of into it, just not really. And Dynasty Warriors Gundam 2, I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna try this out. So yeah, I don't really care for the Dynasty Warriors game, but it did get me into Gundam. And in case you didn't see that, my copy is autographed by Brad Swaley, the English voice actor for Amuro and Setsuna, as well as Diarca Elsman in Gundam Seed and Seed Destiny, and Katra from Gundam Wing. So yeah, there's that. Next one I actually have not had much time to play. I actually only played it for about an hour, but it's a Gundam Versus game. One of the ones that we got in America. Mobile Suit Gundam Federation vs. Zeon. Yeah, I got this one a few months ago, actually. I just saw it at Disc Replay, and I'm like, whenever I see a Gundam game I don't have, I buy it. Especially the PS2 ones. I can't really say much about this because I actually have not played it much. I just played the multiplayer for about half an hour one time. Next one, I can't say anything at all about it since I've never played it. This is the same case as Federation vs. Xeon. SD Gundam Force Showdown. Yeah, I can't really say anything about this. It was $7, and it was a Gundam game I didn't have, even if it is the one Gundam series that was developed by, that was made in America. It's still a Gundam game. This was the first PS2 Gundam game I owned. Mobile Suit Gundam Seed Never Ending Tomorrow. It was, interesting, at the very least. Very odd kind of game, because it's got a lot of side story mobile suits, and it's got over 100, I believe. 100 mobile suits. Or something. Just over 50. Okay, so not as much, not nearly as much as I thought. But it did have a lot of, weird choices for mobile suits to be included. So it's Gundam Seed Never Ending Tomorrow. I did have fun with this one though, so it's a good game for like $10. Now we start getting into all the imported stuff. So here we have Gundam Extreme versus Full Boost. It's a fun game. I find it really challenging because I can't really do much of the arcade mode. I can't make it too far in there. Like the easy, normal difficulties are actually pretty difficult. I can't imagine any of the 3 or 4 difficulties beyond that. Very huge roster. It's with all of the DLC, it's a 140 mobile suits, I think. It's a big roster. It's a huge selection. I do quite like this though. I do wish you could play online with an American PlayStation Network account, but alas, you can't. You have to have a Japanese one. So that locks out a lot of the trophies that you can get in this game. Before we move on to the next PS3 game, I do have 2 non-PS3 games I want to talk about. We got Mobile Suit Gundam. I believe this is the Ace Pilot. It's kind of ripped up and damaged. It's a GameCube game. Imported, and you have to have a hacked GameCube in order to play this, or a freeloader, which is made by the same people who make the Action Replay, which allows you to play imported games. From what I remember of this game, before my freeloader broke, which they do break, they have a high failure rate. It was a good game when you were playing ground missions, but when you were playing in space, the controls were just way out there. So it was a fun game, though I never made too much progress in it though. Next we have Gundam Seed Battle Destiny. This one reminded me a lot of the PS2 Gundam Seed game. It's a lot more difficult though, as I find a lot of the later missions to be impossible, at least for me. They do have a strange roster in this one too. I think this is where I got the over 100 mobile suits from. It was from this game that had that. It's very fun. It's got both land. Actually, it plays a lot like this. Only space missions are not awful. It plays a lot like that. It's a very good game though. Even if you're not a fan of Gundam Seed or Seed Destiny, it's still a fun Gundam game. Now to move on to the next PS3 game, Gundam Breaker. This one is actually really good. I got this long after it initially released, and it had gone down in price quite a bit by then. It was only like $40. Nowadays it's like half of that. But this game actually, out of all the Breaker games, has the largest online community to this day. And I think that's partly because this game had one server, which means that no matter which region of the game you got, or which version, be it PS3 or Vita, you would play with the same people. Whereas Breaker 2 separated that into different systems. So Vita and PS3 had different servers, so you couldn't cross-play. So I definitely do recommend the first one to start with, just because of that. Especially if you're playing with the Vita version. Speaking of Vita versions, after Gundam Breaker 3, or not Gundam Breaker 3, Gundam Breaker 1, my bad, I moved on to the Vita, because I didn't have a Vita when I got Gundam Breaker, but when I got Breaker 2, I did, and I just prefer portability. They're the same exact game, so it really doesn't matter. Alright, so my recording cut out for some reason or another. I was talking about Gundam Breaker 2. So I got it on Vita, because, I just prefer Vita. It's my favorite system of all time, so whenever there's a multi-platform game and there's a Vita version, I get it. So I got the Vita after I got the original Gundam Breaker, so that's why I didn't get the Vita version of the first game. But this one made a lot of welcome changes. It greatly expanded the roster. Now I believe there wasn't a single series that didn't have at least one representative. There were countless, not countless series, but there were tons of series that didn't get a single mobile suit to represent them in the first game, and this one fixed that. I'm pretty sure by the time this released, every series that was out by then, had been in this game, had at least one rep. But they still made the huge mistake of making them not crossplay. That's the biggest issue with this game, because there's a very small Vita community for it. Even when it was first released, very small Vita community. So just finding online, and this was a pain in the ass. And now, Gundam Breaker 3. Same online issues, but this time at least we have the game in English. That said, with it being the Asian English version, they made a completely new server for it. So not only do we have PS4 and Vita servers alone, but now people who had the Asian English version could not play with people who have the Chinese or Japanese versions of the game. So I think there was like 6 servers altogether. So especially in this one, because I have found very few online matches, rooms in Breaker 3. Nevertheless, having the game in English does make it a lot easier. The entire story, all the menus, everything except the voiceover is in English. So I definitely recommend picking up the English version of Gundam Breaker 3. Even if it's an extra like $20 or so, it's a lot better that way. And lastly, onto my newest addition, Gundam Extreme versus Force on the PlayStation Vita. Now this game is actually, as I'm filming this, it's not going to go up the same day, but tomorrow this game releases in America. The issue with that is that it's only releasing on PlayStation Network. I hate digital games. I hate the concept of digital games. I hate the PlayStation Network store. I wish digital, like, that whole thing just didn't exist. I wish everything would stay physical. So I had to buy a physical copy. This one was very cheap, so that's why I decided, you know what, I'm just gonna buy it. Buy a physical copy. So, for $15, I bought a physical copy of the Japanese language edition of Gundam Extreme vs. Force. Now, with this game, it has an extremely small roster compared to other Extreme vs. games. I mentioned before that the Extreme vs. Full Boost on PS3 had, with all its DLC, I think around 140 characters, or mobile suits. This has 39 with all the DLC. So, big disappointment there. But I do quite like how this game plays. Rather than it being all just defeat the enemy, it's mission-based. There's a larger battlefield to explore. There's different things you have to do for each mission. But, I mean, the roster is definitely the biggest downside to this game, but the gameplay, I do think, is the best in the Extreme vs. universe. So, with that concludes my Gundam video game collection. Now, I do have two more, actually. I have Dynasty Warriors Gundam Reborn on PS3, but I didn't bother getting a physical copy of that. It's just, I don't care that much for it enough to have one. I also have Gundam Crossfire on PS3, that Gundam launch title for the system. That does not have the original box, so I don't really count it in here. But anyways, that's all for now. So until next time.